Have you ever looked at a regular old jug of milk and just thought, there is no way I can turn this into a beautiful block of rich golden butter? Well, I'm here to tell you that you absolutely can. And you know what? The whole process is surprisingly simple if you know the one crucial secret. Let's dive in. So, this is the big question, right? The one that trips everybody up. Can you really just take a standard carton of whole milk out of your fridge, shake it up, and get butter? It just seems a little too good to be true, doesn't it? The answer? It's a big, resounding yes. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. Your success, whether you end up with amazing creamy butter or just, frothy milk, it all comes down to getting one single critical first step exactly right. And that secret is all about understanding what I like to call the fat gap. It's the really simple science that explains why you can't just shake a carton of milk and expect butter to magically appear. Okay, so let's start with what we're working with. Your typical whole milk. On average, it only contains about 3.5% fat. That's it. The rest, it's mostly water, proteins, sugars. Not really the stuff butter is made of. Now compare that to butter. By law, here in the US, butter has to be at least 80% milk fat. You see that massive difference from a tiny 3.5% all the way up to 80%. That, my friends, is the fat gap, and our entire job is to bridge it. So here it is, the big aha moment. You don't actually churn milk to make butter. You have to churn cream. The real work, the secret, isn't in all the shaking and churning. It's in concentrating that milk fat before you even start. So how do we solve that problem? How do we get the good stuff? With this. This right here is the cream line. This visible layer, this is your liquid gold. It's a natural concentration of about 30 to 40% fat that rises to the top. This is exactly what we need to collect. But here's the thing. To get a beautiful, thick cream line like that, the type of milk you choose is, well, it's everything. It will literally make or break your entire buttermaking adventure. So for the absolute best results, what you're looking for is non-homogenized milk. You'll probably see it labeled as cream top milk. In this stuff, the fat globules are big and happy, and they naturally float to the top, making this thick layer that's super easy to skim off. Your standard homogenized milk, on the other hand, has had those fat globules blasted into tiny little particles so they stay mixed in. That makes separating them out, well, pretty much impossible. And you know what the best part is? You don't need any fancy, expensive equipment for this. I'm willing to bet you have everything you need in your kitchen right now. A simple jar with a lid, a mixer if you want to speed things up, a strainer, and, I'm serious about this one, it is absolutely non-negotiable, a big bowl of ice water for that final step. All right, so you've got the right milk, you've got your simple tools. The entire process from here on out boils down to this really simple 3-stage roadmap. First step, cream separation. This is our most important job, right? This is where we bridge that fat gap. Second, we have the churning. That's the part that feels like actual magic. And third, we have washing and seasoning. This is the pro move that guarantees amazing flavor and a long shelf life. Now, I know this timeline might look a little long, but don't let it intimidate you. The separation part, that's just passive waiting time. You just let it sit in the fridge for a day. After that, the active work is incredibly fast. We're talking maybe 15 to 30 minutes of churning and then just 10 or 15 minutes for the final wash. That's it. So what's actually going on in that jar when you're churning? It's pretty cool science. You start with all these little fat globules just suspended in the cream. As you shake them, you're literally breaking down their protective outer layer. Once those layers are gone, the sticky fat particles inside start clinging to each other, clumping into bigger and bigger masses until, boom, you get a solid chunk of butterfat separating from all that liquid buttermilk. So, what should you be looking for while this is happening? You're going to see 4 really clear stages. First, the cream just gets thick. Then it'll fluff up into perfect whipped cream. But you gotta keep going. Don't stop there. All of a sudden, it's going to look grainy and kind of curdled. That's how you know you're super close. And then it'll happen all at once. You'll see the break. Solid clumps of butter will just separate from this thin, watery liquid. That's your victory moment. Now, if there is one secret, one variable that controls this whole stage, it's this: temperature. For a perfect, smooth churn, you really want your cream to be right around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, or 15 Celsius. If it's too cold, the fat's just too hard to stick together. If it's too warm, you'll end up with a greasy, soupy mess. But let's be real. Things don't always go perfectly the first time, right? It happens. So let's quickly cover the most common problems you might run into. And, more importantly, how to fix them on the fly. Okay, think of this as your ultimate butter-making cheat sheet. If you've been churning forever and your cream just won't turn, it's almost always too cold. Just let it sit on the counter for a bit. If you end up with a greasy, soupy mess, it's too warm. Pop it in the fridge to chill down. And if your finished butter tastes sour or it goes bad really quickly, that means there's still buttermilk hiding inside of it. And that brings us to our final and I think most important piece of advice. Whatever you do, do not skip the wash. Kneading the butter in that ice-cold water is what removes all that leftover buttermilk. And the buttermilk is what causes that sour taste and makes it spoil. This one little step is what separates good homemade butter from truly incredible butter. So, now that you know the secret is all about the separation, what are you going to flavor yours with?